Miyamoto Musashi stands as one of history's most formidable warriors and profound strategists. Born in 1584 in feudal Japan, Musashi became a legendary swordsman who claimed to have fought over 60 duels without a single defeat. Yet his legacy transcends mere martial prowess. Through his seminal work, The Book of Five Rings, Go-Rin no Sho, Musashi distilled a lifetime of combat experience into principles applicable far beyond the battlefield. His philosophy of perpetual readiness, embodied in the concept of preparing for 10,000 battles, offers timeless wisdom for confronting life's challenges with discipline, adaptability, and unwavering resolve. The life of a wandering warrior. Musashi's journey began in violence and uncertainty. Orphaned at a young age, he fought his first duel at 13, killing a skilled warrior named Arima Kihei. This victory launched him into a life of musha shugyo, or warrior pilgrimage, wandering across Japan to test his skills against the finest swordsmen of his era. Unlike many samurai who served under a lord, Musashi remained ronin, a masterless samurai, free to pursue his own path of martial perfection. His most famous encounter occurred in 1612 against Sasaki Kojirō, considered the greatest swordsman in Japan at the time. The duel took place on the remote island of Gonryūjima. Musashi arrived late, deliberately unsettling his opponent, and wielded a wooden sword carved from an or rather than a steel blade. In a single devastating strike, he defeated Kojirō, demonstrating that mastery lay not in the weapon but in the mind wielding it. Through decades of combat, Musashi developed an approach to warfare that emphasized practical effectiveness over aesthetic tradition. He pioneered the two-sword technique, Nitten Ichi Ryu, wielding both katana and wakizashi simultaneously, breaking from conventional single-sword schools. This innovation reflected his broader philosophy: abandon rigid forms when they cease to serve victory. The essence of perpetual preparation. When Musashi spoke of preparing for 10,000 battles, he articulated a principle that went beyond physical training. True preparation meant cultivating a state of perpetual readiness, a mind and body so thoroughly disciplined that response becomes instinctive, adaptable, and precise regardless of circumstances. This concept rests on several foundational elements. First, Musashi believed in training that simulated real conditions. He scorned martial artists who practiced elaborate kata in the safety of their dojos but crumbled under actual combat stress. His training emphasized practical application, exposing himself repeatedly to genuine danger so that the stress of battle became familiar rather than paralyzing. Second, Musashi understood that no two battles are identical. The terrain changes, opponents vary, weapons differ, and circumstances shift. Therefore, preparing for 10,000 battles means developing not a single perfected response but a vast repertoire of adaptive capabilities. Musashi trained in multiple weapons, studied strategy, and honed his ability to read opponents and environments instantly. His mind became a library of tactical options, accessible in the fraction of a second between life and death. Third, true preparation encompasses the totality of one's being. Musashi didn't merely train his sword arm. He cultivated mental clarity through meditation, studied various arts including calligraphy and painting, and maintained rigorous discipline in all aspects of life. He recognized that a warrior's effectiveness emerges from the integration of physical skill, mental acuity, emotional stability, and spiritual centeredness. The Book of Five Rings, a manual for living. In his final years, Musashi retreated to a cave and composed his masterwork, The Book of Five Rings. Written in 1645, 2 years before his death, this text synthesizes his lifetime of experience into strategic principles organized around 5 elements: earth, water, fire, wind, and void. The Book of Earth establishes foundational principles. Musashi emphasizes the importance of understanding the way broadly, not narrowly. A swordsman must know carpentry, farming, business, and governance to truly understand strategy. He argues against attachment to particular weapons or techniques, advocating instead for flexibility and naturalness. Do not develop an attachment to any one weapon or any one school, he writes, for such attachments create vulnerabilities. The Book of Water addresses fluidity and adaptability. Water takes the shape of its container yet possesses tremendous power. Similarly, a warrior must remain formless, adapting instantly to circumstances while maintaining fundamental strength. Musashi discusses rhythm, recognizing patterns in opponents' movements and disrupting them. He emphasizes the importance of initiative, seizing psychological advantage before physical combat even begins. The Book of Fire explores combat itself, the intensity, chaos, and decisive action of battle. Here Musashi details tactics for one-on-one duels and large-scale engagements. He discusses concepts like crossing at a ford, choosing the optimal moment and place to engage. He advocates overwhelming opponents through multiple simultaneous pressures, creating situations where no good defensive option exists. Throughout, he stresses that strategy must serve victory, not elegance or tradition. The Book of Wind examines other schools of martial arts, critiquing their limitations. Musashi identifies common weaknesses: over-reliance on strength, attachment to specific sword lengths or stances, emphasis on speed without timing, and fixation on defensive techniques. By understanding these limitations in others' approaches, a warrior identifies exploitable patterns. The Book of Void addresses the ineffable, the state of mind transcending technique. Void represents the warrior's intuition, the spontaneous wisdom that arises when conscious thought subsides and one acts in perfect harmony with the moment. This is the ultimate goal of 10,000 battles, training so thorough that the warrior becomes empty of calculation, responding with perfect appropriateness without deliberate thought. Training philosophy. Beyond technique. Musashi's training methodology departed significantly from traditional martial arts schools of his era. Where many schools emphasized perfecting specific techniques through endless repetition of predetermined forms, Musashi prioritized adaptability and practical effectiveness. He believed that over-reliance on kata, choreographed sequences, created predictable patterns exploitable by observant opponents. Instead, Musashi advocated training that cultivated principles rather than techniques. Rather than memorizing 100 different sword strikes, understand the fundamental mechanics of cutting, the geometry of angles, the physics of force transmission, and the psychology of intimidation. From this foundation of understanding, appropriate techniques emerge spontaneously based on circumstances. This approach required diverse experience. Musashi deliberately placed himself in varied situations, fighting opponents of different sizes, styles, and temperaments. He practiced with different weapons and under different environmental conditions. Each encounter expanded his understanding of combat's infinite variations, building a mental database of possibilities. Physical conditioning formed another crucial element. Musashi maintained peak physical fitness not through isolated exercises but through the natural movements of daily life, walking vast distances during his pilgrimages, performing manual labor, and training with weapons until exhaustion. He understood that technique deteriorates under fatigue, so stamina became a strategic advantage. Timing and rhythm, the hidden dimensions. Among Musashi's most sophisticated concepts is his analysis of rhythm and timing. He identified that all actions, individual movements, sequences of techniques, entire battles, even life itself, possess inherent rhythms. Mastery involves perceiving these rhythms and either synchronizing with them or deliberately disrupting them. In combat, opponents fall into rhythmic patterns. Patterns of breathing, patterns of movement, patterns of attack and defense. An observant warrior identifies these rhythms, then either exploits them by attacking at vulnerable moments or disrupts them entirely, forcing the opponent into unfamiliar territory where their practiced responses fail. Musashi distinguished between various scales of timing. There is the split-second timing of a single sword stroke, the medium-scale timing of tactical sequences, and the large-scale timing of overall strategy. Mastery requires operating simultaneously across all these temporal scales, making instantaneous decisions that serve immediate tactical needs while advancing longer-term strategic objectives. He also emphasized the importance of initiative in controlling rhythm. The warrior who sets the pace forces opponents into reactive positions, responding to pressures rather than executing their own plans. Through aggressive initiative, one compresses the opponent's decision-making time, increasing the likelihood they'll commit errors. Strategy beyond combat. While Musashi's immediate context was martial, his strategic principles extend far beyond physical combat. Business leaders, athletes, artists, and anyone facing competitive challenges can apply his wisdom. The preparation for 10,000 battles translates into preparation for 10,000 negotiations, performances, competitions, or creative challenges. In business, Musashi's emphasis on knowing the terrain means thorough market research, understanding competitive landscapes, and recognizing economic cycles. His principle of not becoming attached to particular weapons translates to avoiding overinvestment in specific products, strategies, or organizational structures. Markets change. Businesses must maintain the flexibility to pivot. His focus on psychological mastery proves equally relevant. Negotiations, like duels, involve managing perceptions and emotions. The leader who maintains equanimity under pressure, who reads opponents' underlying motivations, and who controls the psychological frame gains decisive advantage. The principle of continuous learning, treating every encounter as a lesson expanding one's repertoire, creates organizational adaptability. Companies that rigidly adhere to past successes become vulnerable to disruptive competitors, just as swordsmen attached to particular techniques become predictable. The path of self-cultivation. Ultimately, Musashi's philosophy transcends victory in external conflicts, pointing toward a path of comprehensive self-cultivation. Preparing for 10,000 battles means developing oneself into an increasingly capable, aware, and integrated human being. The battles become opportunities for growth rather than mere obstacles to overcome. This perspective requires embracing difficulty rather than avoiding it. Each challenge, each failure, each painful lesson contributes to the warrior's development. Musashi lost no duels not because he never encountered superior opponents, but because each encounter, each near defeat, taught him something new, expanded his capabilities, and refined his understanding. The integration of various disciplines, swordsmanship, calligraphy, painting, meditation, strategy, reflects Musashi's holistic approach to development. Excellence in one domain informs and enhances all others. The patience learned through brush painting enhances swordsmanship. The decisiveness cultivated in combat enhances artistic expression. The mindfulness developed in meditation enhances both. This path requires unusual dedication. Musashi lived an austere life, forgoing many conventional comforts and securities. He never married, never accumulated wealth, never built a permanent home. His singular focus was the way, continuous refinement of his understanding and capability. While few modern individuals would embrace such extremes, the underlying principle remains valid. Meaningful mastery requires sustained commitment and willingness to sacrifice superficial pleasures for deeper fulfillment. Legacy and modern relevance. 5 centuries after his birth, Musashi's influence persists. The Book of Five Rings remains required reading in military academies, business schools, and martial arts dojos worldwide. His strategies inform everything from corporate leadership to athletic training to personal development programs. This enduring relevance stems from Musashi's focus on fundamental principles rather than contextual specifics. While the weapons and battlefields of feudal Japan have vanished, the underlying dynamics of conflict, competition, and challenge remain constant. Human psychology hasn't changed. The importance of preparation, adaptability, mental clarity, and strategic thinking persists across all domains. Modern competitors can extract specific lessons from Musashi's approach. Elite athletes embody his principle of preparation through their rigorous training regimens, studying opponents' patterns, visualizing various scenarios, and cultivating mental toughness. Entrepreneurs demonstrate his adaptability, pivoting strategies when circumstances change rather than rigidly adhering to initial plans. Artists reflect his dedication to mastery, practicing fundamentals obsessively while remaining open to innovation. The psychological dimensions of Musashi's teaching prove particularly valuable in our information-saturated, distraction-filled era. His emphasis on mental clarity, present-moment awareness, and emotional equanimity addresses contemporary challenges. In a world of constant stimulation and pressure, the ability to maintain calm focus becomes increasingly rare and valuable. Conclusion: The Eternal Warrior. Miyamoto Musashi's injunction to prepare for 10,000 battles encapsulates a philosophy of perpetual readiness, continuous growth, and unwavering commitment to excellence. It demands viewing each challenge not as an isolated event but as one instance in an infinite series of tests, each offering opportunities for learning and refinement. This mindset transforms one's relationship with difficulty. Challenges cease being obstacles to be avoided and become essential ingredients in development. Failures transform from crushing defeats into valuable lessons. The journey itself becomes meaningful, not merely the destination. Musashi's life demonstrates both the power and the cost of this path. He achieved unparalleled mastery and left an enduring legacy, but sacrificed conventional forms of comfort, security, and connection. His example invites each person to determine their own balance. How much comfort to sacrifice, how deeply to commit, which battles merit preparation. Yet even partial application of Musashi's principles yields benefits. One need not become a wandering warrior to embrace continuous learning, cultivate mental clarity, develop adaptive capabilities, and approach challenges with strategic thoughtfulness. These principles enhance any life, any career, any creative endeavor. The 10,000 battles metaphor reminds us that life itself is an ongoing series of challenges requiring our full engagement. Whether the battles are business competitions, creative struggles, relationship dynamics, or internal conflicts with our own limitations, the principles remain constant. Prepare thoroughly, remain adaptable, cultivate mental mastery, act decisively, and treat every experience as a teacher. In the end, Musashi offers more than tactical advice or martial technique. He presents a comprehensive philosophy for living with intensity, purpose, and continuous growth. The warrior's path he illuminates need not involve swords or physical combat. It requires only the willingness to face life's challenges with courage, discipline, and unwavering commitment to one's own development. You must understand that there is more than one path to the top of the mountain. Musashi's words echo across centuries, inviting each generation to discover their own way, armed with principles tested through 10,000 battles on the proving grounds of feudal Japan. The invitation remains open. Prepare yourself, embrace the journey, and walk your path with the fullness of your being.